Hello, fellow creators. Hello, fellow entrepreneurs. Hello, fellow small business owners. Those of you who are self employed or on that path. I am Chris Perillo, streaming some advice to you. Once again, I like doing these videos live because there's a chance to be interactive, as well as knowing that I'm not a fan of editing video. And that's actually somewhat tangential to the topic that I cared to cover today. This is a topic that, for some reason, popped into my head at 3:30 this morning. I was awake. Sometimes that happens. I go through bouts of insomnia every so often. And for some reason, I thought burnout. That was the words that flashed virtually in my vision. I think my eyes were closed at the time, but I said burnout. And I was like, oh, I'll write it down later. But like, no, I can't because then I won't remember that I want to talk about burnout. So, of course, I picked up my smartphone. And just because it's a smartphone doesn't mean you're that much more intelligent. You know, picking up a device at 3:30 in the morning when you should be sleeping. And I keyed it in. I jotted it down. So that's the topic I'm going to cover. I wanted to tell you how I arrived at the topic, at least. Burnout is a thing for anybody and everybody. Inevitably, if you do the same routine and you find yourself stuck in the same routine in this vicious circle, you can burn out, and you can experience burnout without realizing that you're burnt out. In many cases, you may not have the ability to break that cycle. Inevitably, this happens. You know, at least it's happened to me at certain points where I'm drained, and it's not that I don't have a want, need, or desire to take part in a process. It's just that it's not working. The same process isn't effectively working the way that it used to. And that has led to my own burnout in the past. And I have to sometimes just wait, and sometimes wait indefinitely, or effectively shelve a certain process or a certain way of doing something because inevitably it's what weighs me down that keeps me from being propelled forward, having that energy and the excitement and the interest to do something. So effectively, I have, in the past, when I've gone through burnout, taken the elements that I love about a certain process or, a certain aspect of the business and amplified them in a different way. So when I find myself in the grind, in the routine, in finding nothing but frustration in response, it's been challenging, to say the least, because in a creator type of scenario, if you're not creating, you're doing nothing. You're not creating your business. You're stalled. And if you I don't think it's about pushing yourself too hard. I think it's about and it's not even about pushing yourself too much or too frequently. It's about not finding the I guess the response you were expecting enough times, or the outcome that you were expecting in going through the process, let's say of creating something. If you go through that enough times, you're not gonna feel the same as you used to. Certainly when you started out. It's one of the reasons why for years I would joke, most blogs that were started up I knew would never make it past the first week. Because that's just not how it works, right? Oh, I'm excited, I'm going to start a blog. And then it never goes anywhere. And then you abandon it within a week. And the same thing can be said for a new Twitter account or a YouTube channel or anything, right? You may have the idea that you want to accomplish something, but it doesn't mean that you have that energy and the drive to actually see it through. So there are certain aspects of my personality that I've learned can work well in certain contexts. So I recognize that it's not just about creating content that I value. It's about sharing my perspectives and sharing my opinions and sharing my experiences. That's what I love to do, not create. I mean, I create vicariously by talking about it. So I stripped away elements as best I could, stripped away elements that I was not capable of doing without further accelerating burnout. What would cause burnout for me potentially would be the idea that I would have to edit video. I don't like editing video. I just didn't. And for a long time, I did, because I was seeing fruits from my labor actually be bountiful. So I was willing to push through it. But then the script got flipped, as they say, and suddenly I was putting way more into it than I was getting out of it. And so I had to do a reset. I had to say, nope, because this is something that is now aggravating. I no longer enjoy the process. I'm not seeing a return on my investment of energy. So to see a return on my investment of energy, I have this need to share. It doesn't matter to me if 100 people see this, if 10 people see this, if 10,000 people see this. It's the fact that I said it. It's the fact that I did it to the best of my ability, shared how I get through a process, or at least the prospect of burnout. I again, come back to saying that I don't think it's related to how intensely you do something. I don't think it's related to how frequently you do something. I think it's all about getting a return on investment and playing to your strengths, the thing that made you want to be an entrepreneur, a self-employed, independent, a creator, and getting back to the heart of that, which is what matters. Because even if there's a radical disconnect between what it is that you want to do and what other people are able to pick up on, your potential customers, your audience, your community, whatever group that you're trying to appeal to, even if there's a disconnect, it would be a far greater disconnect if you continued down the path and ultimately burnt out and couldn't do it what it was that people fell in love with in the first place. At which point you kind of have to say, that's just the way it is. That's the way it goes. Because if you go through burnout, and you probably will go through burnout, it's gonna come out, whether you want it to or not. No matter how well you try to hide it, it's going to come out. And some people are going to figure out what it is, and some people won't. But you've got to ultimately, even in going through what you need to go through for the survival of your business, come back to your strengths. Play to your strengths. Do what you can do best, and you won't burn out, because you'll love doing it. You've got to love doing what it is you do, whatever that happens to be. If you love editing video, my God, just do that all day long. That's great. That's what you love to do. Go back to what you love to do. And take into consideration that your business model may change, but then again, there may be market forces beyond your control which forced your business model to change. Try something new. Try something different. Try a different approach. And ultimately, you'll potentially find something that'll work better for you, and you won't burn out. Some people say take a break. I'm not as inclined to say that, because maybe it is that I take these types of breaks and these mental wanderings every so often, whether I am thinking about it or not. I'm constantly processing, as I've mentioned in the past, but also always trying to get back to doing what it is that I love doing what it is that caused me to go down this path in the first place 20 years ago. So burnout is a thing. That's how I've addressed it. Tried to, go back to what I love. That's what I'd recommend for you as well. And build upon that. Go back and start at those building blocks of why you got started in the first place. And even if you have to do it, even if you have to try to change the tire while you're driving, which is an apt description for sometimes how it feels to be going through that. It's pretty much what I wanted to say about burnout. Hopefully, if you're stuck or you feel stuck, you can get unstuck by going back to what propelled you in the first place. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. If you want more personalized advice, I'd be happy to give it. Head over to CreatorAdvocate.com for more information on how you can get that from me. At this point, however, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. I love you, and I appreciate you, but may the force be with you.